All right, we will call the Board of Selectmen meeting for the 6th of February to order at 5:30 in the afternoon. The first item of business will be to approve various minutes. The first being the January 3rd, 2023 regular minutes. May we have a motion to consider them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of January 3rd, 2023.
A second.
Is there discussion on them? Hearing none, we're prepared to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Thank you. The next one is the special meeting minutes of the 12th. This was the one we did the agenda for the town meeting in an executive session. So may we have a motion for that one, please?
Make a motion to accept the special Board of Selectmen minute meetings from January 12th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion on those minutes? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is the special meeting on the 13th of January, and this is where we talk with the budget director on the 24 budget. Have a motion on that one, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of January 13th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion on them? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And last, we have the minutes of the 30th of January, a special meeting where we did a number of appointments.
I'll make a motion to accept the special meeting minutes from January 30th, 2023.
I will second.
And, all right, any discussion on those minutes? All right, ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I do see a scrivener's error on the agenda, January 2023.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, well.
You're pushing us along to 30,000.
Back to the future.
Mm-hmm.
Here's our Joanne DiCamillo. Come forward, please. We'll get settled. And Joanne had written us a letter concerning trees in town, and there's always a replacement program to replace trees in significant places, and she will tell us a little bit about that, and then she's suggesting there might be a program where we could plant more trees in town to help the ones that are actually dying off. And part of the problem is watering trees that are newly planted. You just can't put them in the ground and hope for the best. They need to be watered. And I think she'll tell us about some trees in the area of the senior center that were planted some 7 years ago, and with the drought, they didn't look so great. So she has a... Is
this part of communication or is this public comment?
This is actually communication.
Remember, we was at the Board of Finance meeting in December?
Yeah, no.
Maybe we'll switch them around here.
Sorry.
Does anybody not... I have an extra one.
No, I got it all set.
You want to look at it?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
And I actually brought a copy as well.
Okay. So, Commissioner, Joanne, how many years have you served as chairman of the Tree Commission?
This year will be 22.
Good.
2 years in March, I think it was, we started.
Okay, good. So we have looked at your memo, and I think you have some revisions, but nonetheless.
We have been trying to develop a plan for planting more trees in town. We're losing, as I wrote in my letter, we've lost a substantial number in the past decade. And I did go through my files today, and I found that in my reports from 2018 to 2022, now that's fiscal years, we've taken down 148 trees, and we've planted 10. So over the period from when we began as a committee and then a commission, we inherited 25 trees or so that the utility company had planted along Lime Street. And then we've added to them, but I really don't think that we've planted 100 trees over the 22 years. So we need to develop a program, and as you were saying, the most important thing is we do not have the capability of watering trees to longevity. This past year, the drought has really taken a toll on the trees. The 3 trees that were planted on the town green at Sill Lane were watered by one of our members who carried buckets of water in his truck. And he had to water them every 3 days to keep them thriving. So in the past, the tree commission members have watered the trees. The ones that we planted at Townwoods Park back in 2017. The first year, that was a joint project with the Duck River Garden Club and the Lime Old Lime Junior Women's Club. And the first year, the Junior Women's Club members and the Junior Women's Club and the Duck River Garden Club members watered the trees. The second year, one of the Junior Women's Club members watered them, and that's what is suggested is water 2 years for the first 2 years, and then they should be fine. Well, this year after the drought, when I went over and checked them in September, 2 out of the 4 there look like they're not going to survive. So we need to have some backup plan for years when there are droughts to have someone water the trees. We also would like to start a tree planting plan. And what I wrote to you in my letter, we've been talking about this now for at least 8 or 9 months. And we decided what we would do first that would be helpful, but still not what our ultimate goal is to have a tree seedling, to buy some tree seedlings to give to the community. We're looking at 1,600 seedlings for a cost of, I think it was $1,200. But then after that meeting, back in December, I decided to do some research myself. These seedlings minimum would be 1,600, and the variety of trees that were offered there were about 3 or 4 varieties. So what I found in my research is that I contacted the Arbor Day Foundation, and I found that they offer a wide selection that are reasonably priced. They're sold in bundles of 50 for $69. So I proposed this to the commission, and because I felt that 1,500, that's a lot of seedlings, and if we don't give them away, what are we going to do with them? And I didn't want to really spend that much money if we don't really think that we can give them away. Community members are interested. So at the January meeting, the members agreed, and we decided that we were going to ask for $300 or $450 to purchase these seedlings. The cost is $350, but then we added $100 for PR, to announce it to the community, and then we need to give them instructions for planting them and taking care of them. So that would be a good way to introduce trees to the community. Maybe some of them will hopefully survive, and it will start our goal of planting more trees. But that would be now. Maybe we would do it every year, but the long-term plan is to plant larger trees, more mature trees. If we have a budget, but we don't have a way to water. And I also wanted to mention, to prove my point, is Mary Jo this summer struggled down at Soundview watering those 2 new maple trees that were planted. I drove past a couple of times and talked with her, and she had the tree gaiters on them, but when I saw her in the fall, they didn't look like they were going to survive either. So our hands are kind of tied without water. We really need to water them. I think everyone knows you just can't put a tree in the ground and leave it. You have to take care of it and maintain it. And we have the budget. You've generously provided us a budget for trimming when we need to trim and for planting, but we don't have a way to water. So this seedling program is just to have the community become interested in planting, and we'll see how it goes. We decided a small number. It's best to start with a small number as opposed to a large number. So we have the money in our budget, but it's not for purchasing seedlings. We have money in contracted services. The funds in our carryover and are basically designated for tree planting on Ferry Road if needed, Ferry Road trees. So
so you can handle the financing probably with
we can. I just don't want to take it from one specific line item like contracted services, because it's really not a contracted services for purchasing trees.
So really what you want to do is permission to move the money from contracted
to move it
services.
and to tell you that we're not asking for 1,500, we're asking for 450.
And how many units would that be?
It is 50 for $69, so it's about $369, about $350.
So
about
$1.
That's what we're starting with.
So I have a question. Mm-hmm. What's the lead time after you place the order? How quickly will they come?
Well, I've called them, and they won't give a specific date, but for $10 shipping. It's free shipping right now.
Right.
If you just take it as, whenever they want to send it, follow their shipping timeline, but it will be $10 if we want them on a specific date.
I'm just thinking that it might be a good idea to pre-order.
We are.
Take pre-orders from the community. Then you'll know how many to order, and that way you won't over-order.
Well, they come in bundles of 50.
Right. So if you could get 50 orders, then you order the first 50, and then you keep going, and maybe it'll grow as an idea.
They have several different varieties available. So that's what we have to determine now at the next meeting. What are we going to order? What can grow in this zone? What will grow in this zone? We plan to order, obviously, shade trees, seedlings, and flowering trees, ornamentals, and conifers. So a variety of each. So I don't know that would work, because maybe, I don't know. People may want so much of one variety and, so many, and then we would or we wouldn't have them. We were planning to just advertise and then tell them the date when it is, obviously, and the time and the location. And
so would you be making a profit on these trees?
No. No.
What are you going to be
They're
selling?
seedlings.
I understand that. But, so are you selling them back to the public, or are you just
Giving them out?
We're giving
Giving them.
Okay, giving them
In
away.
celebration of Arbor Day, yes. Yes, just to see if there's any enthusiasm. Because there are towns in Connecticut and in Newport that actually have tree planting programs. And they will plant also trees. This is the city of Newport, Rhode Island. They are trying to get away from planting on town right-of-way, the city right-of-way, because of road salt, drought, and because of the maintenance of watering, mostly. So what their program is, they offer trees, and the tree can be planted on private property as long as it can be seen from the road. So we're saying 10 to 15 feet in on private property as long as it can be seen from the road. They will subsidize that tree. But they have a contract that the residents sign that they will commit to care and monitor the tree for 2 years and water, maintain the tree. And my daughter is a member of the tree commission there, and it has been so successful. It's been very successful.
And where is that again?
Newport?
So they have encountered the same thing about watering, and of course the trees affected by various things that grow along the road, and they're moving now to plant trees on private property, and it's really worked very well. And now, as far as the seedlings, the Connecticut, it's a group in Middletown, and now I can't remember the name of it. I volunteered up there. They have offered seedlings every year in April, and I can't remember the name of it now, but they sell them. And that's been very, very successful too. People come and pick up bundles of seedlings and to plant in their yard. So
possibly we could get a little pamphlet or some communication we could put out on the internet, have some copies around in advance, and see if we can get the word out. We're going to depend on the homeowners to do the watering and so forth. So that could be explained. And we're talking about a very incidental expense here in the relative scheme of things. So we can probably get it so that you can access the money. And
so you'd like approval for $450 to move from your contracted services to
Tree planting fund?
to the tree fund.
Well, that's what miscellaneous other is. We use that fund,
Okay.
tree planting, yeah.
I'm happy to make a motion to approve that the tree commission be allowed to $450.
Recommend. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would be...
I would recommend, I'll make a motion to recommend that the tree commission be allowed to move up to $450 from their contracted services line to their miscellaneous line for the purchase of trees.
I'll second.
Okay. Will the $450 be enough to acquire the trees and prepare communication?
Well, we had that. We put $100 extra in.
Okay.
To advertise, but then we have to do copy the sheets of instructions too.
Okay. Very good. We have a motion moved, seconded, ready to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
I just have one more thing I want you to know about. We have also been talking about doing a tree inventory. You probably remember this from way back when Jerry Foster was in charge of it, where we had a line item every month for tree inventory. Now, I think there's probably 28 to 30 towns in Connecticut that have done a tree inventory, and most of them did it way back in the 1990s when it was headed up by a fellow from Jeffrey Ward at the Connecticut Agriculture Experiment Station. Essex is one of those towns they've done a tree inventory, and we've also been looking at this. He went over to talk with the tree warden / chairman of the tree commission, Augie Pampel, and looked at how they document their trees. They don't use GIS, they use a spreadsheet. So, and I've been talking with various members in the Connecticut Urban Forestry Division of the DEEP, talking about doing tree inventory. So we have decided to start. I mean, we have tried this. I don't know how many times we've had presentations, at least three or four from companies. It's very expensive because they use GIS, and that is transmitted to the town website. This into the computer system. This would be just a spreadsheet that someone would maintain in town hall. But so we couldn't decide which way to go initially, and now we have a plan. Fred Behringer and Michael Gaffey will be starting a tree inventory in Haynes Park, more than likely. Tom Degnan is going to meet with them to show them the ropes, and they're going to start. They're going to do the parks, they're going to do the greens, and then we'll go from there. So I probably will be coming back to talk with you about funding for tree inventory. We need to make a plan. That's another thing, because in order to plant, we should have an idea of what our urban forest looks like, and we need a blueprint to work from it. We need to know the condition of the trees, the existing trees and their condition. That's another tool that will help us to plant more trees, is doing the inventory. In fact, state recommends that we do an inventory before we plant trees. So that's the other thing. So many towns have done inventories in Connecticut, and we've been around for 22 years, and we haven't accomplished it. We were very close to it back in 2009 or 10. We had 2 interns that were coming from Hartford, from the Hartford DEEP office up there, 2 young men, students, and we had everything set up. And then at the last week before they were supposed to start, their dad said no because he was worried about insurance. For them to do it, he didn't want them. He was just nervous about it. So that was very disappointing. So that's something that we should do also, I believe, in order to help us manage our urban forest and know where to plant trees.
We're just starting the budget season, so if you can put something together within a couple, 3 weeks, that would be very helpful if you're looking for additional funding.
I tried to get Jeffrey Ward, but he's retired. Tom spoke with him, and I tried to get him to come and talk with us, because he's the one, he worked with the University of Vermont, and they did inventories all throughout the New England states of trees. So, but he's retired, and he told me to contact the young woman now who is at the Urban Forestry Division, who I spoke with. So, thank you.
Very good.
We hope to see you on Arbor Day.
Oh, boy. Okay, we'll open it up to public comment at this time then. Public comment. Anybody in the hall? Oh, Dennis, come on.
Hello?
Could people on the phone, can you just hold, the people on the phone will have public comment after the people in the audience do? Please put yourselves on mute for this portion, and then we'll get back to you.
Hi, good day. How you doing? Dennis Maluzzo, 7 Portland Avenue. There we go. I just wanted to read into the record today, seeing as this is the first Selectmen's meeting of 2023 I've been able to attend to, and it gives us a synopsis of a letter that you received from Old Lyme Shores Board of Governors regarding sewers. And I'd like to start.
And when was that dated? That
was dated February 1st. I have a copy of it if you need one. Okay. Selectman Griswold, Selectwoman Shoemaker, and Selectman Ward. The Soundview Sewer Coalition is pleased to learn that Old Lyme Shores Board of Governors is publicly supporting several of our positions that we have been presented to the Old Lyme WPCA and Selectmen over the past several years. Old Lyme Shores started positions that the coalition agrees are, number one, the project will require tens of millions of dollars to complete the design and to construct a uniquely designed sewer system. The system will require operation and maintenance, including technical skills and expertise for the life of the project. Keep in mind that there is a state statute that limits taxation for construction of sewer systems beyond the value added to any property. Who will pay for this project and the maintenance then? Number two, it is also far from clear to us that the project is even necessary. Now, these are Old Lyme Shores comments first. Okay, testing of the waters of Long Island Sound offshore from our beach has failed to reveal any significant levels of pollution of any kind. The Soundview Sewer Coalition would like to once again present the Old Lyme WPCA and Selectmen a copy of the graph that we compiled from the past 5 years of test results published by the State of Connecticut Health Department. There is no pollution indicated by the state-authored reports. And I'd like to give you guys each one of it. Okay, if you could.
Thank you.
And these numbers are from the state of Connecticut. Okay, that's for you, Tim. Okay. Okay, the third thing from Old Lyme Shores, it has to be noted that this letter has gone out to all the private beach associations part of the sewer project and the town of Old Lyme and the WPCA. So you're all aware of what was sent. Okay? Number three, it is clear to us that $14 million of state funding is wholly inadequate, and even the $30 million figure people have been discussing may not be nearly enough. Representative Carney understands and has expressed that this project is prohibitively expensive and is worried about people being forced from their homes due to cost. The Soundview Sewer Coalition agrees with Representative Carney's statement that this project is prohibitively expensive, and we too are worried about people being forced from their home. Soundview Miscellaneous Area B is primarily a neighborhood of hardworking blue-collar retirees who exist on fixed incomes and, like all of us, have been hit by recession, increased interest rates, and declining 401k balances. We cannot afford this project. Even the state grants $14 million. Where will our neighbors go when they can no longer stay in their home? The fourth thing from Old Lyme Shores,
Putting this project on pause does not make sense to us. We at the coalition agree. Our neighborhoods have been on pause since testing first started in 2000, 23 years ago. On pause is long enough. It's time to let property owners upgrade their individual septic systems and make improvements where needed. This 23-year pause has also stifled development in the area and contributed to the blight issues. Number 5, we should also collectively agree to pursue alternatives, especially new designs for septic systems. Exactly, the Soundview Sewer Coalition has made suggestions to the town, the Old Line WPCA, to revisit green solutions, updated septic systems that utilize state-of-the-art technology to minimize the potential for pollution. These systems are now acceptable by DEEP and are much more affordable than an antiquated and complex sewer system that will send our groundwater to New London, protect our aquifers. Speaking of water, we know what we went through this past summer. We know that we trucked in water from the months of July and August. Since then, the state has mandated Miami Beach to hook up to Connecticut water. What happens? That aquifer can only support what it can support. If it doesn't rain, now you've got another bunch of people, bunch of residents that have no water. We can't afford to send 50,000 gallons of water a day to New London. Okay? I have other things that I'd like to mention. Here is the test data for Hawks Nest. It has never done anything by the WPCA to look at the results. Nothing. Zero. Why did we spend $48,000 for testing? And I'd also like to send a FOIA request to the town. I would like to know how much exactly, since the day of the inception, that this town has spent on a sewer system design, lawyers for the design, how much to New London, how much we spent to the private beach associations. I guarantee you it's not the $1 million that Mr. Prendergast said. It's closer to $2 million plus. Just for the sewer ordinance, it was $24,000 almost for lawyers just to look at the sewer avoidance, to come back and tell them that it has to be items have to be removed. So that I will be submitting, and I will be submitting it to the town and the finance board and WPCA. Okay?
Thank you. To an email. Sent from you, or was it sent? No,
it was sent from Old Lyme Shores. I have a copy of it if you like.
I saw the one on the newspaper. I don't.
Oh, that's the Kate who's here.
Yeah.
That is basically what the email said, right. But it was a letter addressed to all the private beach associations, WPCAs, and the town, and Old Lyme WPCA. Okay. I can make a copy of it if you want.
I'm going to find it in the thing. I can print it off online. That's fine.
Okay.
I find it in my email. That's all. Okay.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Matt, are you saying it wasn't in your email?
I'm looking back February 1st.
I don't remember seeing it. So
it was a letter. It was a letter mailed on February 1st.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's why I'm like, where is it?
Okay, yeah, it was mailed on February 1st. You should have gotten it February 2nd or 3rd.
It wasn't in my mailbox here today. But
No, I haven't seen it either.
I don't think the post office service is a little.
We won't talk about that.
We'll look for it, yes.
I will let you know when I get it, but it wasn't here in my mailbox today when I was here.
Okay, I have a copy and I can show it to you.
Okay.
Okay. I also wanted to mention, this morning we got a message from Tim regarding taxes. The process where we could view our taxes. I looked at my taxes. My check hadn't been cashed, and that was sent on the 28th.
Yep, I've been...
You're aware of that also? Okay. I could tell by Judy's tone, she's not happy. And I said to her, I says, I've owned a house in this town for 37 years, and I've never had a late tax. What happened? But when you open that thing and it shows you interest that you've never had to do, that's very concerning.
Yeah.
So, but I just want to say, I know she's under the gun, and it's not a problem. She explained it to me. Newington is doing the same thing. They haven't cashed our check for our house in Newington either. So it must be some kind of personnel,
also the banks themselves, they have to process the check. So
yeah, and that's it. And I checked, and up until 4:00 today, the checks still haven't been cashed. So, okay. Other than that, thanks a lot.
Very good.
Thank you, Janice.
Please come.
I'm Mary Daly, Portland Avenue. When you do read the letter from Old Lyme Shores, I think it will be very clear to everyone that at this point there is unison in thought that this sewer project is just not the right solution for Old Lyme. The question now is, how do we proceed? What do we do? Property values in Soundview Area B and Hawks Nest have already suffered, as during the height of the market frenzy in 2022, realtors advised prospective buyers not to purchase in this area since there was, quote, pollution and a pending significant sewer assessment. How do we repair now the damage that has been done to our community? Most Old Limers know that Sandy Garvin, my dear friend and comrade, was a vocal advocate of sewer avoidance to the extent that she at one point marched right into the Deep offices in Hartford and demanded to be heard. And she was heard. It is only because of Sandy's efforts that the Deep ordered the WPCA to retest Hawks Nest in 2018 and 19. Although, still at this date, almost 3 years later, the WPCA has not retained an expert to analyze that data. When will that data be analyzed? And by the way, Sandy had established a relationship with Carlos Escuela at Deep because she loved the Hawks Nest Beach community and this town and did not want our communities and town unjustly tarnished. In late December of 22, she finally got a few answers from Deep, but then passed a few days later after a brief struggle with cancer. I know Sandy would like me to share Deep's responses with all of you. So here goes. I won't read the entire email, although I will forward it to you after this meeting.
Thank you.
That's for reference. And it's from Carlos. The following is from Carlos at Deep, and it's dated December 22nd, 2022. From Sandy, Dear Carlos, I am once again writing regarding the high needs description attributed to our properties at Hawks Nest. Carlos answers, the report completed by Woodward and Curran in 2017 did not identify Hawks Nest as a high priority area, but as a medium priority area and recommended for additional groundwater samples. Sandy, once again I am asking for feedback from you regarding the Deep required groundwater testing analysis that was never completed by Deep WPCA, in spite of my family's several requests, etc. I'm trying to skip so I don't utilize all your time. From Carlos, the town has collected groundwater samples between the years 2000 and 2013. 23 years ago, within Hawks Nest and nearby coastal areas. As you know, the sampling program was reinstated in July 2018 and discontinued in November 2019. We understand that the town may restart groundwater testing with the main goal of making a determination of pollution sources and political and possible solutions. We have not heard this from our WPCA, and believe me, we attend every single meeting. I believe Soundview residents should have the same rights for new testing and determine where and how many sites exist that are problematic. From Carlos, based on a current review of Dr. Wiggins' report, which started this whole process, the department's perspective is that it has a very narrow scope of evaluation. Evaluating community pollution problems related to on-site septic systems is a multidimensional effort that requires the evaluation of several variables such as subsurface conditions, soil permeability, the condition and age of the on-site septic systems, compliance with public health codes, lot size, location. All of these variables should be evaluated individually and collectively to be able to render an assessment and conclusion of the wastewater management needs. These variables do not seem to have been included in Dr. Wigginson's report, and the department would caution against reaching conclusions in the absence of a holistic evaluation. This is from DEEP in December of 2022. Sandy, several times I suggested that the environmental engineer, Dave Potts, come to speak to the WPCA members about cheaper, site-specific alternatives that could identify problems and solve them without going to the extreme and expensive sewers. And the Soundview Sewer Coalition also made that same recommendation several times to our WPCA. Carlos, we are familiar with Mr. Potts' systems, and we understand that these systems may be viable based on site-specific considerations. Site-specific septic system upgrades required a lot-by-lot understanding and evaluation of the site-specific conditions, etc. We've already gone through that. Ultimately, an engineering analysis factoring all of these variables should be considered and dictate the viability and selection of a given solution or preferred alternative. To reiterate, Carlos says, a comprehensive wastewater management analysis will need to rely on the evaluation of several variables, as described previously in this email, and not rely solely on one or a limited set of data that had been presented initially, which started this whole fiasco. Sandy, they, the WPCA, also cite DEEP as being the one to decide if Hawks Nest is high needs. How will you know if they did not finish a most important groundwater study? Carlos, Hawks Nest has not been identified as high need. And as a point of clarification, please note that it is community's responsibility to document the sources of pollution and recommended solutions, not DEEP. There's more, but in the interest of time, I'll stop here. DEEP's comments to me imply that they too recognize that the original data was not complete, now 23 years old, and that DEEP would consider alternatives, such as updated septic systems and green solutions. DEEP and the state of Connecticut have much bigger fish to fry than a small community of seasonal residents in Old Lyme. In August of 22, the Connecticut Insider published this information regarding required upgrades and repairs to existing system sewers in Connecticut. And please keep in mind the budgets, what you're hearing today between, $18, $30, $50 million to install the systems does not include maintenance over any period of time. So these are the actual numbers. $10 million for work in New Haven subsystem plus $75 million for New Haven to repair structured sewer lines. $30 million to replace lines in West Haven, $7 million to upgrade Litchfield lines, $10 million to close a small treatment plant in Ridgefield, $156 million to upgrade Norwich Water Pollution Control Facility, $279 million for MDA projects in Hartford, East Hartford, and Rocky Hill. Also identified but not funded yet, necessary repairs to Stratford, Bridges, and last but not least, Stamford. Why would a small town like Old Lyme want to join a broken, antiquated, expensive infrastructure like this when it is truly not necessary? Let's move forward with affordable green solutions. Let's move forward with a better ordinance that stipulates not only pump outs, but inspections every 5 years as our neighboring towns do. Accept and publish the analysis of the Hawksmith test data collected in 2018-19, provided to the town's WPCA in 2020, authored by a renowned environmental scientist, Dr. Sarah Wigginton, that found no indication of pollution. So we can start to restore and rebuild the reputation of our good town. Let us get out of the way of DEEP and the state of Connecticut so they can focus on the real pollution issues. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
I'll definitely forward it to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Brian Cornell, I'm a resident on Portland Avenue Extension for over 20 years. Mr. Griswold, this is first, you make copies for your other select persons. That's a copy of that letter that I have. I can get another one at home, but that's the one that came dated February 1st.
Oh, this one Dennis read?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one he was referring to, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can make copies appropriately for
Yeah.
them. I don't want to do it here. Anyway, so as I said, I'm Brian Cornell, Portland Avenue Extension. I'm also a resident of the mysterious Area B that is often mentioned in documents dealing with the sewer project. There was very limited, if any, testing done specifically for our area, which is on the north side of Route 156. Inclusion was based on just an assumption of density, which is kind of laughable because since the roads in Area B, like Miami Beach Extension, there's only one inhabitable property there on that particular end of the road. Area B is some distance from the shoreline. My particular building is just a little bit over a half mile from Long Island Sound. So the idea of Area B polluting the sound seems a bit ridiculous. It's clear when you go back and look at the timing that Area B was only added to the equation of who was going to be included in this project when White Sands was excused. And when Area B was added, it was meant to spread out the cost of the project, not because there was necessarily any identified pollution, and Mary and Dennis have already talked about the testing. I've never seen any need was ever established, and neither has any of us on the coalition. Most of the residents in Area B are now retired folks, like myself, and will most assuredly have problems hanging onto their homes because of the project and the costs associated with it, between connecting and helping and then having to pay for it, even though the town itself voted to go forward with the project. There's a small number of us that are actually directly affected. Area B does not need or want a sewer system that has outdated technology, like old grinder pumps and that blessed dioxide station that's going to be next door down at the end of Portland Avenue, down toward the beach. We don't understand why this continues. When we bring this up to the WPCA, they shrug their shoulders, and it's almost like we're not even there when we talk to them. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else in the hall? Okay. Anyone on the telephone like to make a public comment?
Yes,
All right, name please.
Carolyn Miranda, Biscayne Boulevard.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to commend and thank Dennis and Mary and anyone else who's spoken over a long period of time about this ridiculous sewer project. I'm appalled that the town itself is not taking more responsibility for definitely an infrastructure project. We don't need sewers. We don't want sewers. We're not polluting. I have not done the research and collected data as Mary and Dennis and other people have. And I appreciate immensely that they've done that and they've been persistent in advocating for the majority of people of down here that don't think you care about this section of town. And we see it when you don't way up top at the Selectmen's office propose help us like you should and consider it infrastructure, like I said. So I'm hoping that we can just come to the end of this and people who need to fix their individual septic system go about doing that and stop this nonsense about insisting we have sewers when you people in town at the top level don't really care to give us the help that we would need in such a big infrastructure project. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else on the phone like to make a comment?
Yes, this is Kathleen Tracy, 76 Hartford Avenue. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Tim. I also want to thank Tim and Dennis, Mary and Dennis for their comments and their research and their advocacy. And I'm not going to take a long time, but I just would like to see us suspend moving forward with the sewers in the Soundview area. Let's allow landowners to move forward with septic systems as they're needed. And I just concur with what's been said, and I just hope that people are listening. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Sally Weidowitz on Swan Avenue Extension, also in the miscellaneous area B. And I would have to say, I mean, it's a little ridiculous when they say that it's densely populated. I walk around here all the time with my dog. There's approximately 10 year-round homes within the 5 little streets, a half mile from the beach. And the rest of the cottages are mostly empty except for occasional weekends. There's very little rental this far away, so there's not many people. There's really no pollution. We're too far away. And that's about it.
Sally, could you please spell your name? I don't think we have it.
Weidowitz, Woitowitz.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you then.
Welcome, asshole.
All right, returning to the agenda, we will move to the appointments. I believe you all have the list of the appointments in front of you. We went through and found some staff positions and some other positions that were actually not on the system that we have, so some of those are a result of that. The first are 2 staff appointments. We'll take them one at a time. We have the Animal Control Officer, Lynn Solomon, as the Animal Control with a term ending the 31st of January 2025.
I'll make a motion to appoint Lynn Filliman as the Animal Control Officer with a term ending January 31st, 2025.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Other discussion on it?
I just have a question. In our ordinances, I could not find anything that actually refers to an animal control officer. It only refers to a dog warden. And I'm
I think
just
that's
wondering.
the old-fashioned.
Well, then I think we should change our ordinance then to read correctly what it's supposed to say. We should update it. So maybe we can take that up at another meeting.
I suppose when we're doing ordinance work, because it's a process and you have to have, I don't know whether we even trigger a town meeting to change an ordinance, so.
Well, I would think that something like that we could actually move to the end of, to our annual town meeting in the
we could get some
spring.
advice on that, yeah.
Sure.
Probably some titles have changed.
I just think we should update it.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next is the assessor, Melinda Kronfeld. She has a term ending the 31st of July 2025, a 2-year term.
I'll make a motion to appoint Melinda Kronfield as our assessor with a term ending January 31st of 2025.
A second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion on it? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Then we have the Economic Development Commission. There's a vacancy that has existed, and we received an application from Terry Lewis for to fill a vacancy for a 5-year term ending the 31st January 2026.
So she's filling a vacant term, so it's not really totally 5 years, but it's...
Yeah, it's filling a
Okay.
vacancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to appoint Terry Lewis to a 5-year term vacancy ending January 31st of 26 to the Economic Development Commission.
A second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Then we have the Eastern Regional Tourism District Board of Directors. Wendy Russell is our representative, and the term is extending for 3 years, ending January 31, 2026.
I'll make a motion to appoint Wendy Russell to the Eastern Regional Tourism District Board of Directors for a term ending January 31st, 2026.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
The Harbor Management Commission has a vacancy. We have the suggestion of Emerson Colwell to fill the remainder of a 5-year term ending January 31, 2025.
I'll make a motion to appoint Emerson Caldwell to an alternate position on Harbor Management for vacancy ending January 31st of 2025.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Sorry.
Next, we have the Inland Wetlands Commission. We have 3 candidates for 2 positions. We have Michael Arulia, we have Ted Crolius, and we have Peter Friel. I might add that this we did not act on last time, and I must say that we did receive communications from the chairwoman on the one of the applicants, and so I think you've seen that, and so I believe that a motion's in order.
I'll make a motion to appoint Todd Crolius and Peter Friel as alternate members of the Inland Wetlands Commission with terms expiring January 31st, 2026.
And I will second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, open space. We had a situation that triggered the balance of party affiliation. There were actually 6 regular members of the Democratic Party, which was one too many. So I spoke with Greg Futomo, who is either the chairman now or the chairman designate. And so we have worked out that Evan Griswold, who was a regular member, is to be an alternate, and that Fred Berenger and Michael Arulia, who are alternates, would move up to become regular members. And then in that fashion, the balance would be 5 Democrats, which is permitted by the regulations. And then there's another regular member, Greg Futoma, whose term is up for renewal. So I guess we could have a motion that we would recommend Fred Berenger as a regular member for a term ending January 31, 26. Michael Arulia, regular member, January 31, 26, and Greg Futoma, regular member, term ending January 36,
So moved.
26.
All right. I thought you were going to do 2. Are you doing 2?
No, we'll do all the regulars because they're all common dates.
Sorry, I jumped in.
Please do. So we have Selectman Shoemaker making the motion.
Second.
And Mr. Ward. Any discussion on that? You all understand the dynamics?
Yep.
Good. All right, we can vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And then we have the fact that Evan Griswold is moving from a regular position to an alternate with a similar, well, actually a term ending January 31, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion on that? All in favor then?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And last, we have the zoning commission.
Tree commission.
Oh, excuse me, tree, yeah, a little skinny line there. There is a vacancy that has existed in the alternate group, and we have the suggestion of Peter Edmondson, who would serve as the alternate for a term ending January of 24, filling a vacancy. I might note that Peter actually is he lives across the street. He works for Save a Tree, so he's a registered arborist, and so I spoke to the chairwoman, and he would be a welcome addition.
All right, I'll make a motion to appoint Peter Edmondson as an alternate for the Tree Commission with a term ending January 31st, 2024.
I will second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Now we have the zoning commission alternates. We have Sloan Danenauer, Michael Barnes, Sherry Johnston, Gil Susi, and Anna Ryder. We did not act upon this last time. There was questions about Mrs. Johnston's attendance. I did speak with her, and she missed 3 meetings, and I think one was illness related. And I think she actually was not aware of the call-in feature on the telephone, but she certainly does want to continue. And she served on the Zoning Board of Appeals prior to being put on to the Zoning Commission. And we heard about Mr. Susi and so forth. So I guess we can try to get a motion going and see where we come out with this one.
Well, we received word today from the chair, and he is making his choices made known to us. So I would like to make a motion based on Mr. Orzel's recommendations that Sloan Danenauer Michael Barnes and Gil Susi be named to the Zoning Commission for terms ending February 1st, 2024 as alternates.
Second.
Okay. All right. I guess we are prepared. Moved and seconded. Any other discussion on it? I think I would still support Sherry because we heard last time that the chair was satisfied with the alternates. I saw the email this afternoon.
Mr. Borzell, Tim did not know that Gil had applied at the last meeting. He did not. I talked to him that night. He had no idea.
Well, I did speak to him myself, and I said, how are these alternates performing? And, I think we knew we had 2 additional applicants for the position.
He did not know that Mr. Susi had applied.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion passes. All right. So I believe that brings us up to date with these appointments. Okay. Okay, we will turn to, let's see. Okay, old business. Halls Road, nothing to report. Zoning is still considering the Halls Road Improvement Overlay District, and I haven't heard back on the bids that were received in terms of a recommendation from the committee. I think they have a 90-day period to work on that. Townview sidewalks, that's dormant as well. When weather improves, some of those last items will be taken care of, and we can close that up.
I just wanted to make one comment that something I heard, and I don't know if we can confirm it, was, we did the bus drive-through. Someone had said that the bus drivers said that they're not allowed to use it because they can't make the turn.
With the big bus.
Can't make the turn?
Yeah, with the bigger buses. They're told not to, they have to turn so wide they're on oncoming traffic.
So who should contact Nine-Town Transit on that?
Okay.
Who?
Yeah.
Do you want
Joe Comerford. Well, yeah.
Well, do you want to do it?
Yeah,
I'm
on that board, so I can discuss it to see.
That would be great.
Yeah, make a note of that. So the city bus type vehicles.
The larger bus there's a big bus and a little bus, and
I was heard that none of them we're told none of them to do it. But I didn't get it from. It was just.
Well, I can't imagine the small buses couldn't make that.
I heard the big bus couldn't do it.
So I just maybe get some confirmation and maybe what we could do to fix that problem.
Yeah, they helped design it.
Great.
Things that they.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. The Soundview Sewer. State Senator Marks visited with a Zoom call, and she is attempting to submit legislation that would enable the town to get some additional funds for the sewer, along with other things that she's pushing for. Otherwise, I think there's no news on other sources of funding at this point. The senior center update, the building committee put out a new sheet. The cost, according to the all-in for the senior center, would be in the vicinity of $5.2 million. there were a number of items that are within that budget that were highlighted, and I think there'll be some work to perhaps streamline, do some examination of some of these options in an effort to perhaps curtail the cost. Let's see, the way things are going, the documents are being worked on, and perhaps by July the documents will be completed, and then bidding might occur in the fall, depending on how things look in the market. It could go out to actually construction, I suppose, maybe by the end of the year, into the spring, and probably a 9 to 12 month construction period. So we have Jerry Baker here, who's the chairman of the building committee, and you can correct anything I may have said it's not right.
That's okay. No, good job. Thank you. Tim summarized a little bit, but I would like to flesh things out a little bit more. Our contract with Point One Architects calls for them to submit a cost estimate at each phase of the design work. The $3.8 million, when was first approved, was actually the first conceptual estimate. They completed their schematic design, which still is fairly conceptual, but goes into things like site work and other work that is estimated to be done. And that was when there was a significant rise in their cost estimate. It's due in part to how crazy the world is right now. And I'm sure everybody's dealing with that. But I will tell you this, since that cost estimate rose over $1 million, we've been working with Point One diligently and for hours to try to come up with some ways to take a look at their design, to ask them to revisit certain aspects, especially the site work, and interior motorization of partitions, other things that are very costly, that don't violate code or violate any of the regulations, and take a look to see if there is any cost savings that can be made. And we're committed as a committee, and have been since day one, to try to mitigate costs for both towns, but also so is Point One. And they will do this with also the absolute promise from both us as a committee members and them, that we will not devalue that work. We're going to maintain the value of what the constituents in this town have decided that we need to do to protect that center and make it valuable and upgrade it to the point where it will be sustainable for the future, and also accommodate the growing needs of the population of both towns. We have also worked diligently with Tim, David Lom, First Selectman from Lyme, Dave Kelsey, Board of Finance Chair for Old Lyme, and Alan Shinus, who chairs the Board of Finance for Lyme, but also serves on the Building Committee, to meet and to work collaboratively to take a look at everything that needs to be done to make sure this project goes forward. I'm excited. I thought we weren't going to be able to do anything until next spring, but Point One, by March, now that they're entering the design development phase of the project, which gives us much more of a realistic estimate of costs, we'll have those costs and design specifications completed by July 1st, according to the contract, which will be the basis for the building, for the building design work that will be able to go out to bid. If the gods let us do this and things go through with financing from both towns, we could conceivably break ground by October or November of this year. And it's estimated to be at least a 9-month project,
but we're projecting a year that the center will be closed. I'm already working with the director to talk about how we can move programs off campus, how we can maintain the services as much as possible to the communities. And she's dedicated to that idea, and she's already started doing the planning and the work. It's going to be an extensive renovation. It's going to be a very big construction site. So we're looking to make sure that we hire eventually a contractor who will secure the site and also give us a contract that we can work with to complete the project in a timely manner. At this point, we have had approvals from wetlands, the zoning commission for our special permit, which involves probably one of the most costly aspects of this design, which is the site work. Pretty much what's most expensive right now is trenching. And if we need to do upgrades for lighting for the area, and also especially since we have to do right now with our increased capacity prediction of 375, we have to put a fire suppression system in. And that cost has pretty much doubled since we first were calculated to see how much it would be. And the basis of that is because we're on well water. If we were on municipal water, a fire suppression system, sprinkler system would be pretty easy to put in. But because we're on well water, we have to think about digging tanks, putting in pumps, doing all kinds of electrical integration that wouldn't be done necessarily if we were on municipal water. Okay, so we're looking seriously at site work at this point to see how we can reduce costs without violating code or regulation. Planning Commission already approved our plan because there's no change of use. Ledgelight Health District approved our septic system design, which was overbuilt originally, and has given our approval for that, and also with a little condition that we don't change the use of the kitchen. We're not going to become a commercial kitchen. We're going to do business as usual for Meals on Wheels and our daily luncheons. Internal referral to RiverCog was just to see if there were any comments about anything that's been going on, and nothing's been sent back to us yet, so we figure we're in good shape according to Eric Knapp. And I've been informed by Senator Marks and also by Representative Carney that both are willing to do bonding requests. Devin Carney just contacted me a couple of days ago, and Norm Needleman is on board with just supporting this project, and they have been since the beginning. It's nice to see that the bipartisan effort is really paying off. We also will be meeting with town officials to talk about parking, issues that might be evident during the construction phase, and we'll work that out. And that's basically it for me, unless you have some questions.
Was there any talk of like fundraising or anything?
Oh yeah, we will get into that. Private fundraising, I mean, we're looking at grants, and hopefully money will be available, and actually Tim will find out about STEEP before I will, and should find out sometime in March. I do want you to know that the work that we're doing to reduce what we've already looked at and what you're looking at right now, they're going to have answers from us by the beginning of March, so that we'll have better information. We've already eliminated the EV stations because we don't fall under the new zoning ordinance. We don't have to have them, so we decided that our site was probably not the best place to have EV stations to begin with, and that's like a $30,000, $60,000 cut right there. And we're looking at things that we don't necessarily need, or redesign of some things that we do need but could be simplified. For instance, the cupola. I'm not a big fan of cupolas, and I questioned whether or not we needed it, but because of the pitch of the roof and because of the need for good natural light to come in from the center of the roof, and the idea that we might be partitioning off spaces, which would become darker, we're keeping the cupola, but we're going to simplify the design. Okay.
Architect one.
I know. I told my husband if I win the lottery, I can design our new house all by myself at this point. But anyway, that's basically it from me. If you have anything else, Martha?
Yeah, I think the steep grants, it's worthy to note that when the fields were down out back, both towns applied and were awarded $500,000 grants.
Yeah. I looked at all the steep grants that were awarded last year for 2022. There were $33 million that were allocated for steep last year. And the nice thing about this project is the same thing. It doesn't have to be one grant. Each town can apply for a steep grant. And the capped awards last year were $500,000. But going back to your question, Matt, we will be doing whatever fundraising is necessary. But right now we're in the financial channels for the towns and the state, and looking at monies that we could apply for before we go into that. But I think we're going to have a tremendous amount of support from both communities when we do go into private fundraising.
Yeah, no, I just think that after you figure out the grants and funding and all that, some of the private fundraising could pay for some of the little extras that.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be, that would be really nice. Yeah, I mean, we've got some. It's a really nice design, and it's sticking to the idea that we want to be less of like a institutionalized gym space and more personalized space.
So I took a course at UConn on grant writing, and there are some wonderful systems besides state and federal project grants that I can send to the statistical database.
Okay.
And a lot of them are based on using those the center areas for me. I think also, too, that we have some very talented craftsmen in this town. Maybe somebody would like to make you cupola as your gift from some of those experienced woodworkers that we have have their businesses in town.
Oh, that'll come down to when we look at how we have to do a contract with the builder. But great idea, and thank you for the grant information. That would be great.
Yep.
Okay.
Very good. Well, thank you for the update.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Yep. Ferry Road sidewalk, I'm hoping to have a meeting very shortly to try to finalize the plan for the sidewalk. We are still working with the white vinyl fence at 11 Ferry Road. That's been a bit of an impediment, so we'll try to get that resolved and then get this thing out to bid, because thought is maybe we could have somebody who does this type of work grab a job early in the season. So we'll keep pushing on that.
And Tim, you'll provide us with the bids and the updated budget for that project?
Yeah.
When we get a little closer?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Swan Brook, we had the contractor who unclogs pipes come down to Hawks Nest Beach Club and indeed remove the material from the west of the two 36-inch pipes. He said it was about 60 to 70 feet of material. I imagine it's not like a cork, but it might be more like a slope. And it was done in a day, which was a relief because we didn't know how long that might take. So there was no rock that people were thinking was in there, no major impediment. So it was pretty well cleaned out, and the next step will be to have Macnick Construction rebuild the wood crib at the end around both pipes, and hopefully going forward, the water pressure will be sufficient to make them both flow. Obviously, when you have a storm or other things happen with the wind and so on, sand can migrate into the pipes, but with sufficient pressure from, say, a rainstorm, it'll blow it out. So that's our bet. There was a suggestion that the service who evacuated the pipe could actually send a camera up both pipes to determine whether there's any separation that might allow sand to migrate into the interior of the pipe. And that cost would be $1,300 to run it up and down both pipes. There was kind of a straw poll from the people who've been involved with this, and I think you all saw the same thing. We had budgeted a lot more for the pipe evacuation, so I think we have sufficient funds to do that. So if it pleases the board, I think it'd be helpful to have a motion to recommend that we do the pipe, the camera inspection of the pipes to see if it's all out there open, to make sure there's no seams that need attention.
I'll make a motion to approve the use of $1,300 for the camera service to inspect the pipes at the crib down at Swanbrook.
A second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. I'll speak to the finance, make sure this not an object of money, but I think it's sufficiently allied with the job that it would make sense.
What are we going to do about the cracked sidewalks at Hawks Nest?
Well,
I did let Ed Dante know when he went down and looked at it today.
Yeah, was it from a track vehicle or a rubber tire?
He says one from the big machines because someone got stuck down there and they had to pull them out. So he says there was one crack. The end of it is damaged, and he said he'll, when the weather gets a little warmer, the sand.
Yeah, I guess we'd have to go down with make a form and re-pour those panels. Yeah. We've done concrete work out here, so in fact, I think.
So Ed is aware of it. He went down and looked at it today, and he says, when spring gets a little warmer. I mean, it's been off and on here, so you don't want to repair it now, but.
Yeah, we'll have to caution, because if the excavator dragged the truck out.
So will you respond to those Hawks Nest residents that?
Well, I saw one. I guess there was an email from one individual.
Mr. Troland, and then Peter Doolittle followed up with that.
Yeah. Well,
so will you let them know?
Mm-hmm.
Will you let them know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because Doolittle was actually down there when the work was being done, evacuating it. So, yeah, we'll look into the panels, the sidewalk panels.
And that funding will come out of the town budget, because it can't come out of ARPA, because we clearly stated with ARPA you had to go with your project money, not your. You can't go off and do other things.
Yeah, I think hopefully there'd be a public work line that we could do it. I mean, if it's done by Public Works, it'd probably be hopefully much less.
Well, we have to be good stewards to the town.
Yeah. Because I know Macnick did the sidewalk panels out here. Tanamaig Landing, I know Town Council is speaking with Mr. Frampton, yes. And, we're still somewhat polarized. I think I don't think it makes sense to really look into a mediator, because the thought was the possibility that the Attorney General would fund a mediator or provide one wasn't possible, and that means we'd have to be like a typical union mediation where you pay 50-50. But I think we know the issues, and I think we're nearing the end of trying to figure out where we go. And so I know the lawyer wanted to have one more conversation with Mr. Frampton, and if that doesn't work, then we'll probably have to caucus and decide our course of action, because, as we know, additional things have happened on the town landing property, and it just seems inappropriate, and that we're not getting anywhere right now.
So where do you think our timeline is on that? When should we have an answer?
I think we should probably look forward to a conversation with the lawyer during the month of February. I don't know, unless there's some new revelation that we are unaware of. If we're basically polarized, I think there's not much more to discuss.
Okay, so by the end of February, we should pretty much have...
I think we'll have a meeting, certainly.
Okay, great.
Okay, this morning the Buttonball Road Committee had a very productive session. The Harbor Management Commission had their report, which they had some nice big images here, but they're not here. So what the committee, what the report indicates in working with the committee is that there would be a dock of about 100 feet long with observation platforms 10 by 10 at each end that would traverse the marsh. And then when you get to the water, there'd be a...
yeah, I saw it.
Oh, you've seen
yes.
it? Have you seen
Michael Barnes emailed it to us.
Okay. So once the dock got to the actual Horseneck Creek, there'd be almost a perpendicular ramp that would go from the end of the dock down to a float at the very edge of the channel, and the committee, Michael Barnes, said that notwithstanding all comments about mud flats and so forth, the report indicates that there would be probably at least 2 feet of water in the channel of the Horseneck Creek out to the Black Hall River, so that small craft could perhaps navigate at mean low tide. Now, there might be some tide conditions where it would be below that, but which I was a bit surprised. I thought that at low tide there were shoals and other things that would make it impassable. So the report has a bunch of elevations sprinkled throughout showing that that's the case. The dock was situated more toward the Buttonball Road side of the property as much as possible to give leeway to the private home at the end. And they contemplate there would be a walking path from the access road through the park, through the property to take from where the parking is to get to the dock. There would be also vehicular access, what is now kind of a grassy, it was an old road in the past through the gravel pit that the McGowans put in, but it's since grown more or less to a natural state. But it could be a road for people to come toward the dock, drop their boats, and then go park. Kind of a roundabout to do that. other than the walking trail, the rest of the property would be left pretty much in a natural state, the way it is. There would be fencing along the edge of the marsh, telling people to stay off the marsh, so that ideally the only access in the marsh area would be via the elevated dock, which I guess would be a couple of feet, or I would say it'd have to be above the highest high water that one would contemplate, because if it got to be an extreme tide, you wouldn't want the dock to be underwater and possibly float up. I heard them say that the piles would be sunk into the marsh a couple of feet, which doesn't sound like much. So if it's a wood dock, and you'd want to make sure it was sufficiently high that if the tide became extreme, that it wouldn't float up. Estimates of costs, it's really very vague. There was a number of, say, $60,000 for the dock, which included having maybe some help, some free labor from people to help put it in. But I think you'd want to make sure it was done by a contractor properly, nonetheless. But that would be in the future. So the next step would be, I mentioned that the committee is going to report back to the Board of Selectmen with its final recommendations. I think there was consensus on this idea, subject to more work from, working with DEP and others to iron out the details. But ultimately, the committee, I expect, will be sending us a recommendation or recommendations about what's going to happen, perhaps with some rough cost estimates. And then the ball would be in our court to decide how to proceed.
So just some clarification, because I was listening into the meeting, and so the original road, I guess you could say, was the gravel pit road there. What were they going to put at the end of that? An observation, like a bench, or are they just kind of going away from that completely and moving over to the left a little?
I don't know that there'd be any improvements up in the north end of the property.
Because your first thing would be, that thing goes all the way out. We don't want people walking on that.
I don't know. I didn't hear him talk about, say, a park bench where that road stops.
Yeah.
Just so people could sit there and look out.
Okay.
We certainly don't want people leaving the harder surface and then walking out into the marsh. So, but I don't think that was discussed. The principle, you'd have two observation areas on the proposed dock, one at the beginning, one at the end.
I think it's a great proposal. They did a nice job on it.
Yeah, yeah, and having it located where it is, I think if you go any further to the south, apparently there's a large boulder in the marsh that could create a problem, trying to put the dock near that. So once things are agreed upon between the committee and us, then I guess the application would need to be submitted to the DEP. I think the committee could do a lot of that work itself as opposed to hiring that out, and not sure what kind of application fees and so forth would be required out of pocket for that. So I think both Harbor Management and Open Space were talking cooperatively about the plan, and which is very, very helpful. And they're going to meet at the end of the month, and so I think at that point we'll know a little clearer what the sequential steps will be. But I think it was a very helpful meeting.
Great.
Shoreline Gateway Committee. Since we have the co-chairs here, I'll pass the mic.
Our next meeting is on February 16th, and we've invited guests, and we're very happy to announce that all of our guests have agreed to come. We will be having Harold Thompson from Planning Commission, Paul Orzel, who's on our committee, but he will be coming that night as the zoning commissioner, Eric Knapp from Land Use, Tim Griswold, and we are going to, committee members are going to be sending Matt and I questions over the next few days, and we're going to send those out to our guests prior to the meeting to be talking about what we'd like to be doing at Shoreline Gateway and area, and to see how that all maps into planning and zoning of this town. We'd like to get some feedback before we move too far in, because there's a lot going on in town for projects, and we've done another one.
Where is the meeting to occur?
I believe we're going to be upstairs, but we can move the phone up if we want to. But we could ask if we could have it down here, because we could have some more room.
Yeah.
I can ask tomorrow. I'll talk to Michelle.
Good. Okay, so here.
And change our meeting spot.
Okay. 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. On the 16th.
Gotcha.
Be there, or you'll miss out.
Oh, wouldn't miss it. Good. And last, we had our annual town meeting. Our 2021 Citizen of the Year had to surrender her crown. And she's in the back there, so I'm teasing her. And so Edie Twining was designated the Citizen of the Year for 2022. Information for her. After that, Michelle Dickey, who has served as our editor of the town report for 30 editions, is also is retiring, and so she was honored. And thank you, Martha, for doing the flowers for that. That was very nice. The town report, which is available in the lobby, was accepted, so that document is available. And the information technology folks did a sneak preview of the new town website. It isn't in effect yet, but they showed some interest. It was very nice, all told. Turning to new business, we did some approval of the transfer station fees, but we have a couple of minor changes that we need to integrate. In the older version, we had $7 for tires, automobile tires with rims, and light truck tires that needs to be $10 instead of $7. We also, from the prior sheet, had in there propane tanks under 20 pounds and over 20 pounds, and they're only accepting the 20-pound tanks, not smaller or larger, which are the grill-sized tanks that you have. And last, the wood. There's not so much a restriction on the thickness of the wood, but it's the length of the wood. So instead of being 4 inches thick, because it goes through a big grinding thing, that isn't so important. But it's a 6-foot limit in the length of the wood limbs. So those are the adjustments that'll make the transfer station.
So would you?
I think just a motion to amend the fees to include those.
I'll amend the fees to include as such. Suzanne, you'll have to get your, got it?
Second.
Moved and seconded on those, I'd say about 4 modifications. Any other discussion?
I do have a question. Okay, I'm not a camper, But those smaller propane tanks that are more like a fire extinguisher, that for like the 2-burner little gas grills, they're not going to take those? Because where are we going to put those?
Let's see. There is an outlet for those, but I don't know if there's going to be that producer responsibility type thing. I know that the DEP was trying to have those be through that producer responsibility.
So when you say producer responsibility,
well, in other words,
you mean the manufacturer?
If Coleman makes them for a stove, then they would be required to take them back.
But you can't refill them, right? You can't have them refilled anywhere, right?
I don't know if you can. I know that I've seen our neighbors when we've had a power outage, they've used it in their driveway. So I don't know.
Yeah, and then there are even smaller things than that.
I would just hate to see them going into the garbage, into our,
Well, they get nervous because particularly with a burn plant, if a tank is incinerated,
I know.
that's not good.
A little 4th of July action.
Yeah, kaboom.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
we'll have to modify that maybe.
So can you ask them about that?
I'll explore what one does with those different size ones. And there are larger ones too, because sometimes I think retail one can have not maybe 100-gallon one, but a good sized one have a lifespan too. Okay. This is for pretty much town hall, but Connecticut Computing, which is our computer vending outfit, has to do work on the network, and it's going to take the weekend and half a day on Friday from the 17th of February through that weekend. So they're going to do a big deal down in the computer room. So the computers and phones in the town hall will be not available for the afternoon, which would make it more difficult for the public. But the staff can still see people and do things without the computers and the phones, so that will move on. But we're getting a memo out to the staff and the satellite areas too, Public Works and so forth, that the internal telephones, actually even outside lines, will be unavailable. So we'll be putting that out in our newsletters and so forth. So the 17th of February at noon, just that afternoon.
So will that also affect the computer system at the transfer station?
I hear not, because that doesn't necessarily tie back into the big computer.
Because that would mean they'd be closed all weekend.
And the gas system and all that.
Right.
Yep. Okay, then next we have Regional District 18 in this room had the Invention Convention. I was able to serve as a judge for the prior one, but things conspired. I couldn't do it this year.
I could make it.
That's not so bad.
Yeah, but they had, your typical gaggle of kids and inventions, so they looked like they had a good time, and so I imagine it was a smashing success as usual.
Yep.
Turning to other business, I have a request from Rich Prendergast having to do with an extension of something with the DEP. He's provided an incumbency certificate and an authorizing resolution that we should re-sign for year 2023. This is an application to the DEP for clean water funding for reimbursement of plan expenses. Although the sewer authorization was authorized the first selectman to sign documentation and agreements implementing the sewers such as these, it was recommended that this be extended. And the way it reads is that be it resolved, it's in the best interest of the town of Lyme to enter into contracts with the DEP in furtherance of this resolution, Timothy Griswold, first selectman, town of Old Lyme, is authorized to enter in and sign said contracts on behalf of the town of Old Lyme. First selectman is further authorized to provide such additional information and execute such other documents as may be required by state or federal government in connection with said contracts, and to execute any amendments, rescissions, and revisions thereto.
Yeah.
The town clerk is authorized to impress the seal of the town of Old Lyme in any such documents. And then she's the town clerk, the incumbency, which is the three of us as first selectman and select.
I was not given a copy.
I printed the email out, Martha. Sorry.
Oh, was it in an email?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't see it. I went home too to check for email. And it came, back in December.
So, we do this every 2 years? Is that?
I don't think it has a time specified in
Or we do it every year?
So basically what this is saying is that we are agreeing that if we went ahead with sewers, that we would have the availability of financing.
Well, I think this is just as things happen along the way, and I guess even the clean water money, which pays for things that have been done, and there are things to be signed. So it just renews what's there. I'm not privy to what the most recent document is that was there, that we have on file.
If Rich wanted this signed, that he had come so he could explain this to us a little bit more. Because this is our first time. If it was every 2 years, it's not something that we're familiar with from 2 years ago.
I mean, it shows our term of service on there.
It says he could attend the meeting if it's needed, but I guess we didn't, we thought he was needed.
I don't know, I don't think it's more information before I agree to sign it.
I can't sign this unless I know more about this. Could you invite him to our next meeting?
Yeah, I'll find out if there's a time issue, but
If it's a time issue, we'll be more than happy to have a special meeting.
Yeah,
Or we could, I don't know.
yeah, all right.
Thank you, and I'll pull that from my...
Wouldn't it be appropriate, but I will say that the Sound Use Sewer Coalition would like to know what's in Project Axe's request. I'm not understanding what he's asking an extension for.
It's a contract.
It's renewing the fact that first selectman can sign documents as necessary for...
Was that 12-1? Was that 12-1?
Well, let's see, I think I have this. This looks to be... Is this the same thing? Yeah, just take this one.
Oh, thanks.
All right, we'll get him to, hopefully it's not, we have...
Oh, it didn't come, it did, well...
We'll get him to, so that's all I have.
He must have quoted it, I wasn't on the original push through, so maybe...
Yeah, you were there.
Oh, you're on another...
Friday, February 3rd.
It's just Tim.
Friday, February 3rd.
Oh, February 3rd?
From us.
Thank you.
Yep, to us.
Thank you.
Okay.
What I had was, I don't know if you heard of the passing of a town member.
Swaney, Bobby Swaney.
Yeah, Bobby Swaney. Just wanted to send my condolences out to his family, and I know he was a town employee for many years and also in the fire department, so condolences to all those families who lost him over the weekend.
Yeah, that was very recent, right?
It was on Sunday. Yep.
I have a couple of things. Are you done?
Yep.
We also, as a town, should be offering our condolences to the town of Waterford, who lost their select woman, Jody Najarczyk.
Which one?
Jody Najarczyk.
Which town?
Waterford.
Oh.
Rob Brule's
Yeah.
select woman, one of her, the select woman. But Jody died very suddenly at the age of 71. There was a wonderful article in the papers about her. She was a friend of mine. She was an absolutely amazing person, and she will be missed dearly in Waterford. Tim, I also wanted to draw your attention that there was a comment left on our Town of Old Lyme Facebook page. We were made aware of this by our past Citizen of the Year. But I'm not sure if you've seen this in your email yet, but the comment, you should pay attention and maybe get back to that person with a response about their concerns. The other item, I have 2 more items. I know you're wishing I didn't, but as late November, Tim, Matt, and I attended the Connecticut Council of Municipalities Convention, and one of the topics that the CCM is asking every town to take part in this year is the civility pledge. I tried to sign up that day, but because of some systems of putting into place for security for Governor Lamont and that was attending later, I didn't get back to the pledge station. But I have signed this, and I have sent this into CCM. At the moment, there are 92 municipal leaders from about 60 towns that have signed it. Some of the ones that are closest around here, we have Groton, Guilford, North Branford, and you can be a municipal leader. You can be head of a commission. I certainly would love it if all of our commission chairs had their entire team sign this. But basically it says, I pledge to build a stronger and more prosperous community by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of my town or city. I have signed this and sent it to CCM. There's 2 copies, one for each of you. Simply sign it, put your thing, and you can send it in. I'll send you the email so you can know who to send it to. And let's see. The other item I had is just since I've had some time to read, I read through the audit, and there is a recommendation in the audit that we put some processes in place. And I was wondering, Tim, how we go about doing that. I'm assuming it has to require some type of an ordinance or a process of some sort between the finance department and the tax department.
What's the outcome they wish or recommend?
This has been recommended before too, I believe. But it says town should review and strengthen procedures relative to ongoing reconciliation procedures required between the tax collector's department and the finance department. And I believe this is in last year's audit too, so we probably should look at that. And then I just had one question about the budget. What is our process for the budget? Because last year we didn't vote on it at all as Board of Selectmen. And I thought that we should be voting on it before the Board of Finance starts reviewing it. And we haven't had we don't have a total or an estimate going forward. So I'm just wondering, what is the process and I think what are we supposed to be following?
Over the years, it's been the actual approvals are rendered after different spending agencies come before the board, or in the cases where it's not controversial or not that big a situation, it just stands on its own. Because if one were to approve an initial budget, likely it wouldn't be the same as the final budget that the Board of Finance receives. And certainly a lot of the information is not available in the first part of January when we're trying to do this. Just put this, for instance, the salary and wage spreadsheet is coming together just now. And, it's supposed to be looked at tomorrow, so that's a bit of a pinch. We look at it, we make comments to the finance director, those.
But do we approve like a preliminary budget, like
Yeah.
and it goes to them? Or?
That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to send a preliminary budget to them, and then they take it from there, and they can make cuts based on their recommendations as well.
Yeah.
But
well, I know that things are still streaming in from agencies, not town agencies. I think if one approved a preliminary budget, it would probably be just that. It would be not like the final.
Based on what we know now, this is the preliminary budget we received. We're moving it forward, and then
we could make changes along the way as well.
Right.
But it would seem to me that we should be approving and letting them know that we have looked at all of it. And I know that we haven't, because there were things that we didn't know when we sat down for 2 days to go through. Things weren't in yet. And
lots. Yeah.
Yes, I know, and it makes it very difficult when
and
management from various departments don't have their budgets in, and that we can't look at them.
Yeah, because you'd have to probably start, like the school does, I guess, quite early to get things finalized. And because as you know, when we sat down in the early part of January, you had, a number of things in, but...
Yes, but our finance director sent out the initial budget request to the various departments November 1st, the first week of November. That should mean that by January 1st, our management system managers should have their preliminary budget into us by January 1st. We should then have a 1-month period to go through those, ask any questions, and then be able to...
Well, you only have a couple of weeks, because, this year we had that budget overview, which would likely be when you'd like to roll out the selectmen's budget.
Right.
Which gives you a couple of weeks.
I think we have to put a process into place moving forward for the benefit of this town and the taxpayers. I think there has to be a process that is followed year to year, and not just, we didn't approve it last year. We never approved it. It only went, and we were asked several times by the Board of Finance, have you approved this budget? And we never did.
Well, I think you'd have to, it's easy to say, but to approve a budget that you're comfortable approving, it's going to have a lot of holes in it. And
a budget is an estimate. It's what we know best going forward from that point in time. Other things will come into play. But I think that, I don't know of any company, I don't know how deep, I know, Matt, you work in Deep River, but I don't know of any company that doesn't put together a budget and have their board vote on it and say, this is what we know best as of this date going forward. Things are going to happen, definitely. Happens at home, happens in the real world. But we owe it to our taxpayers to be more on top of it.
Well, it'll have to get the finance people cracking the whip a lot. Well, maybe earlier, I'd say, because the things are sent out in December, it's have to come earlier and then get the stuff all put together.
It went out in November. It should be able to be done. Other towns do it.
Yeah. Well, in the past, it's been more of a collaboration with the two, Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen, so...
Well, it's always the Board of Finance gets the final say, but the Board of Selectmen should have the information at first.
All right. Well, we will try to work that into the equation, but we'll have to probably sit down with Finance and see how they can accelerate things, because I just handed something from one of the spending, not within, from without the town, and just today. So they're still coming in. Okay, what else?
That's it. I'm quiet.
Okay, 7:35. Mr. Ward?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Very good, thank you.